Hey, welcome back. Today we are in Luke 3 through 5. So we're back to doing 3 chapters today. And so in this, John the Baptist comes, right? He starts to preach during the reign of Tiberius Caesar. Okay. So again, Luke, one of the things he loves, he's very careful, very detailed. He loves the history and the places. So he's like, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being the governor of Judea, and Herod being the tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip is the tetrarch of the region of Iturea and Trachonitis, and Lysanias is like he's like way into this, and so it's very contextualized. And I just want to point out that that's actually really, really cool. He's detailed. He's looking at all of that. So he loves that. And then other thing I wanted to point out is that he gives a genealogy of Jesus. Now, you'll notice some different genealogies between Matthew and Luke, some differences. Not a huge thing to sweat. I can just tell you that's all been looked at, and it's legit. And what he does is one of them traces kind of Joseph's side, one kind of traces Mary's side, and there's some differences but Matthew was on purpose leaving some names out because he was making a point with like the numbers of the names, which I'm not going to take time to get into. But it's don't if you can't pronounce the names, you don't understand it, don't worry about it. Here's what you need to know about the genealogies. Jesus is a real person. He really does fulfill the requirements to be the Son of God, and he really does trace his family to actual humanity, and I think that's great. So Matthew traces it back to Abraham because he's caring about whether Jesus is. He's trying to prove in his and make the statement that Jesus is the inheritor of the promises made to Abraham, and Luke traces it back to Adam. In a little bit of a different, like I said, a different part of the family tree. He traces it back to Adam. Why? Because he's emphasizing Jesus' humanity, right? Jesus is a human person. Luke's favorite title for Jesus in his book is the Son of Man, and he presents him as a suffering servant. He presents him as the Son of Man. He presents him as a very human person, which you'll see in some of the ways that he reads. He cares a lot about his lineage and the people around, the individuals around it, and how Joseph did this and Mary did that. It's like a very detailed sort of thing. And I think that's cool. And then so there's the story of the temptation of Jesus, and then Jesus begins his ministry, and then Jesus is rejected by his hometown of Nazareth, where he grew up, and then he calls his first disciples. He heals many people. Then he calls the first disciples in chapter 5, and then he cleanses lepers, heals paralytics, and calls Matthew or Levi. Levi and Matthew are alternate names for the same person, and so probably just dual names, which was something that people did back in those days from time to time. There's more than one name, and then as he wraps up, there's a question about fasting and all of that. So I'm going to go short today and just let you read it and speak for itself. This is the third time that you've read some of these stories. Totally fine, because the truth is, you hear it from more than one witness, you wind up trusting it more, right? You hear it from more than one witness, it's like, hey, these guys have done their research, and these are the stories that went around and get told, and I think that's super exciting. So see you tomorrow.